Noise gets rewarded in public, but power rarely announces itself. The loudest person in the room often looks confident, yet real influence usually stands somewhere quieter, calmer, harder to read. A strange pattern repeats itself in offices, relationships, business meetings, social circles, and even moments of attraction. The people who speak less are often listened to more. The ones who do not rush to explain themselves somehow leave the deepest impression. A calm pause can create more pressure than 10 loud opinions. A quiet stare can carry more confidence than endless words. And while most people chase attention, approval, and validation, powerful people seem to move differently. They slow down, they observe, they let silence do work that words cannot. That raises an uncomfortable question. Why do calm people feel magnetic without trying? Why do some people barely speak and still control the energy of an entire room? Why does silence make people lean in closer instead of walking away? The answer is more psychological than most people realize and far more powerful. Silence is not empty. Silence communicates. It changes tension. It changes emotion. It changes the way people judge confidence, authority, attraction, and even status. Most people never notice this because they are too busy filling every quiet second with explanations, nervous jokes, long messages, and endless talking. The fear of silence quietly controls them. Silence feels uncomfortable, so they rush to fix it. But powerful people understand a hidden truth. The more desperate someone sounds for attention, agreement, or reassurance, the weaker they often appear. Confidence rarely begs to be noticed, strength rarely feels rushed, and influence does not always speak loudly. In fact, some of the most respected people in history, leadership, negotiation, and human psychology, mastered one simple skill that most people ignore. They learned when not to speak. That does not mean becoming cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. It means understanding timing, emotional control, presence, the quiet power of making every word matter. Across conversations, attraction, arguments, business deals, and social situations, silence often reveals more than speech. It creates curiosity, it creates tension, it exposes insecurity, and in ways people barely understand, it can quietly pull attention toward you without effort. During this video, you will learn why silence feels magnetic, why calm people naturally seem more attractive and respected, why speaking less can sometimes make your words more powerful, the hidden psychology behind emotional control, and the silent behaviors powerful people use that instantly change how others see them. More importantly, you will also learn when silence works against you, because there is a difference between quiet confidence and awkward withdrawal, and most people confuse the two. Stay with us until the end, because one simple shift in the way you speak, react, and even pause during conversations may completely change how people respond to you. Welcome to the channel, where psychology, human behavior, and hidden social dynamics become easier to understand. If this kind of content interests you, subscribe and join us for more videos that reveal the silent patterns most people never notice. Confidence often sounds quieter than people expect. Many people think confidence means speaking fast, speaking loudly, or always having the perfect answer ready. But calm confidence feels different. It slows the room down. It creates stillness. It feels steady. This is one reason silence changes the way people are perceived. People naturally trust calm energy more than nervous energy. Nervous energy pushes, calm energy attracts. When someone speaks too quickly, over-explains every point, or rushes to fill silence, people sense uncertainty even if the words sound smart. There is pressure in the delivery, a hidden need to be accepted, a need to prove something. But when someone pauses, speaks clearly, and says only what matters, every word suddenly feels heavier, more intentional, more believable. The strange part is that silence itself becomes part of the message. Research in communication psychology shows silence shapes how people judge confidence, emotional control, and authority. A pause before answering can make someone seem more thoughtful, Calm body language paired with fewer words can signal certainty instead of panic. Even during disagreement, the person who remains steady often appears stronger than the person trying to win with speed and volume. This is why certain people walk into a room and somehow feel important before they even say much. They are not fighting for attention. They are not trying to impress everyone. They seem comfortable with stillness, and that comfort quietly changes how others respond to them. The human mind pays attention to emotional stability because stability feels safe. Safe people feel trustworthy. Trust turns into respect. Respect slowly becomes attraction, and this becomes even more powerful in attraction because attraction is rarely just about appearance, charm, or smooth words. Attraction lives inside tension, curiosity, emotional pull. People become interested in what they cannot fully predict or immediately understand. This is why silence can feel strangely seductive. Not dramatic silence, not cold silence, calm silence, the kind that creates space. When someone constantly explains themselves, constantly texts, constantly reassures, constantly fills every gap with words, there is very little left to discover. Everything sits on the table, every thought is exposed, every emotion explained too quickly, but silence creates room for curiosity. Curiosity creates emotional tension. Emotional tension pulls attention closer. A person who replies calmly instead of instantly often appears more emotionally balanced. Not because waiting is a trick, but because urgency communicates emotion, while calm communicates control. Someone who listens more than they talk often feels more attractive because being deeply heard feels rare. Most people wait for their turn to speak. Very few people actually listen. And strangely, the person who speaks the least is sometimes remembered the most because people fill silence with meaning. They replay moments, they wonder what was really being thought. They lean in emotionally without realizing it. The same thing happens with people who do not chase attention. They do not force jokes, they do not interrupt, they do not compete to become the center of every conversation. Yet attention quietly moves toward them because certainty feels attractive, calmness feels attractive, emotional steadiness feels attractive. Silence creates emotional gravity, not because silence is magical, but because emotional control sends a message most people instantly understand without words. That message quietly says, I am comfortable, I am grounded, I do not need to force this moment. And powerful people express this in ways that seem almost invisible at first. One of the first things they do is pause before speaking. Small pause, short silence, just enough space to think. Many people rush to answer because silence makes them uncomfortable. They fear looking awkward. They fear appearing slow. But pausing creates a different effect. It makes someone look thoughtful, calm, controlled. It signals that emotions are not driving the conversation. Decisions are. Another habit appears during disagreement or pressure. Powerful people stop over-explaining themselves. This surprises people because most assume more explanation creates more trust. Often the opposite happens. Endless explaining sounds defensive. It sounds nervous. Confidence does not beg to be believed. A calm explanation delivered once often feels stronger than 10 emotional attempts to prove a point. Then comes listening, real listening. Powerful people listen more than they perform. They are not trapped inside their own performance, wondering how smart they sound or how impressive they appear. They pay attention, they notice details. People naturally move closer to those who make them feel understood because attention feels valuable. Being heard feels rare. Another pattern becomes visible during emotional moments. Powerful people do not react immediately. Anger rises, criticism arrives, pressure enters the room. Most people respond instantly because emotion takes over. Powerful people pause, not because they feel nothing, but because emotional control feels powerful. Quick reactions often reveal insecurity. Measured responses reveal strength. Then there is a quieter skill that changes almost everything, knowing when not to speak. Not every argument deserves energy. Not every insult deserves defense. Not every misunderstanding deserves 10 paragraphs of explanation. Silence can sometimes protect dignity better than words ever could. But this is also where people misunderstand everything because silence becomes dangerous when used badly. Silence is not ignoring people to feel superior. Silence is not punishment. Silence is not acting emotionally distant just to appear mysterious. Some people confuse emotional unavailability with power and quietly damage relationships without realizing it. Powerful silence feels calm and intentional. Weak silence feels tense, defensive, fearful, passive-aggressive. One creates respect, the other creates confusion. One comes from certainty, the other comes from insecurity. And this difference quietly changes the way people experience your presence. In the end, the people who seem the most powerful are rarely the ones fighting to be noticed. They are not trying to win every argument. They are not rushing to explain every choice. They are not chasing approval in every room they enter. Instead, they create something quieter and much stronger. Presence, a feeling people remember long after the conversation ends. They understand that silence is not emptiness. Silence can carry confidence. Silence can show emotional control. Silence can reveal patience, certainty, and calm strength without saying much at all. While others rush to fill every quiet moment, powerful people let silence breathe. They understand that not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every emotion deserves an instant reaction, and not every situation asks for noise. Sometimes the strongest move is to stay calm while everyone else becomes louder. Sometimes the most attractive person is not the one demanding attention, but the one who feels completely comfortable without it. Because real confidence does not beg to be seen. It does not force itself into every conversation. It moves quietly. It listens. It observes. And when it finally speaks, people pay attention. That is why speaking less can sometimes mean more. That is why calm energy often feels magnetic. That is why certainty quietly pulls people closer. The truth is, people remember how you made them feel more than how much you talked. They remember the person who stayed calm under pressure, the person who listened instead of performing, the person who never seemed desperate to prove anything. The people who leave the strongest impression are often the ones who never tried too hard to make one. So the next time silence enters a room, do not rush to escape it. Pay attention to it. Learn from it. There may be more power in that quiet moment than most people ever realize. If this video made you see silence in a new way, take a second to like the video, share it with someone who talks too much or needs this message, and subscribe to the channel for more videos on psychology, human behavior, confidence, attraction, and the hidden habits that quietly change the way people see you. Another powerful lesson is waiting in the next video.